The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda by Swami Vivekananda. Volume 1, Lectures and Discourses. Practical Religion, Breathing and Meditation. Delivered in San Francisco, April 5, 1900. Everyone's idea of practical religion is according to his theory of practicality and the standpoint he starts from. There is work. There is the system of worship. There is knowledge. The philosopher thinks the difference between bondage and freedom is only caused by knowledge and ignorance. To him, knowledge is the goal, and his practicality is gaining that knowledge. The worshipper's practical religion is the power of love and devotion. The worker's practical religion consists in doing good works. And so, as in every other thing, we are always trying to ignore the standard of another, trying to bind the whole world to our standard. Doing good to his fellow beings is the practical religion of the man full of love. If men do not help to build hospitals, he thinks that they have no religion at all. But there is no reason why everyone should do that. The philosopher, in the same way, may denounce every man who does not have knowledge. People may build 20,000 hospitals, and the philosopher declares they are but the beasts of burden of the gods. The worshipper has his own idea and standard. Men who cannot love God are no good, whatever work they do. The yogi believes in psychic control and the conquest of internal nature. How much have you gained towards that? How much control over your senses, over your body? That is all the yogi asks. And, as we said, each one judges the others by his own standard. Men may have given millions of dollars and fed rats and cats, as some do in India. They say that men can take care of themselves, but the poor animals cannot. That is their idea. But to the yogi the goal is conquest of internal nature, and he judges man by that standard. We are always talking about practical religion. But it must be practical in our sense. Especially so in the Western countries. The Protestants' ideal is good works. They do not care much for devotion and philosophy. They think there is not much in it. What is your knowledge? They say. Man has to do something. A little humanitarianism. The churches rail day and night against callous agnosticism. Yet they seem to be veering rapidly towards just that. Callous slaves. Religion of utility. That is the spirit just now. And that is why some Buddhists have become so popular in the West. People do not know whether there is a God or not, whether there is a soul or not. They think smile, this world is full of misery. Try to help this world. The yoga doctrine, which we are having our lecture on, is not from that standpoint. It teaches that there is the soul, and inside this soul is all power. It is already there, and if we can master this body, all the power will be unfolded. All knowledge is in the soul. Why are people struggling? To lessen the misery. All unhappiness is caused by our not having mastery over the body. We are all putting the cart before the horse. Take the system of work, for instance. We are trying to do good by comforting the poor. We do not get to the cause which created the misery. It is like taking a bucket to empty out the ocean, and more water comes all the time. The yogi sees that this is nonsense. He says that the way out of misery is to know the cause of misery first. We try to do the good we can. What for? If there is an incurable disease, why should we struggle and take care of ourselves? If the utilitarians say, do not bother about soul and God, what is that to the yogi and what is it to the world? The world does not derive any good from such an attitude. More and more misery is going on all the time. The yogi says you are to go to the root of all this. Why is there misery in the world? He answers, it is all our own foolishness, not having proper mastery of our own bodies. That is all. He advises the means by which this misery can be overcome. If you can thus get mastery of your body, all the misery of the world will vanish. Every hospital is praying that more and more sick people will come there. Every time you think of doing some charity, you think there is some beggar to take your charity. If you say, "Oh Lord, let the world be full of charitable people," you mean, let the world be full of beggars also. Let the world be full of good works. Let the world be full of misery. This is out and out slavishness. The yogi says, religion is practical if you know first why misery exists. All the misery in the world is in the senses. Is there any ailment in the sun, moon, and stars? The same fire that cooks your meal burns the child. Is it the fault of the fire? Blessed be the fire. Blessed be this electricity. It gives light. Where can you lay the blame? Not on the elements. The world is neither good nor bad, the world is the world. The fire is the fire. If you burn your finger in it, you are a fool. If you cook your meal and with it satisfy your hunger, you are a wise man. That is all the difference. Circumstances can never be good or bad. Only the individual man can be good or bad. What is meant by the world being good or bad? Misery and happiness can only belong to the sensuous individual man. The yogis say that nature is the enjoyed, the soul is the enjoyer. All misery and happiness, where is it? In the senses. It is the touch of the senses that causes pleasure and pain, heat and cold. If we can control the senses and order what they shall feel, not let them order us about as they are doing now, if they can obey our commands, become our servants, the problem is solved at once. We are bound by the senses. They play upon us, make fools of us all the time. Here is a bad odor. It will bring me unhappiness as soon as it touches my nose. I am the slave of my nose. If I am not its slave, I do not care. A man curses me. His curses enter my ears and are retained in my mind and body. If I am the master, I shall say, let these things go, they are nothing to me. I am not miserable. I do not bother. This is the outright, pure, simple, clear-cut truth. The other problem to be solved is it practical? Can man attain to the power of mastery of the body? Yoga says it is practical. Supposing it is not, suppose there are doubts in your mind. You have got to try it. There is no other way out. You may do good works all the time. All the same, you will be the slave of your senses, you will be miserable and unhappy. You may study the philosophy of every religion. Men in this country carry loads and loads of books on their backs. They are mere scholars, slaves of the senses, and therefore happy and unhappy. They read 2,000 books, and that is all right, but as soon as a little misery comes, they are worried, anxious. You call yourselves men. You stand up and build hospitals. You are fools. What is the difference between men and animals? Food and sleep, procreation of the species, and fear exist in common with the animals. There is one difference: men can control all these and become God, the master. Animals cannot do it. Animals can do charitable work. Ants do it. Dogs do it. What is the difference then? Men can be masters of themselves. They can resist the reaction to anything. The animal cannot resist anything. He is held by the string of nature everywhere. That is all the distinction. One is the master of nature, the other the slave of nature. What is nature? The five senses. The conquest of internal nature is the only way out, according to yoga. The thirst for God is religion. Good works and all that, merely make the mind a little quiet. To practice this, to be perfect, all depends upon our past. I have been studying yoga all my life and have made very little progress yet. But I have got enough result to believe that this is the only true way. The day will come when I will be master of myself. If not in this life, in another life. I will struggle and never let go. Nothing is lost. If I die this moment, all my past struggles will come to my help. Have you not seen what makes the difference between one man and another? It is their past. The past habits make one man a genius and another man a fool. You may have the power of the past and can succeed in 5 minutes. None can predict the moment of time. We all have to attain perfection, sometime or other. The greater part of the practical lessons which the yogi gives us is in the mind, the power of concentration and meditation. We have become so materialistic. When we think of ourselves, we find only the body. The body has become the ideal, nothing else. Therefore a little physical help is necessary. First, to sit in the posture in which you can sit still for a long time. All the nerve currents which are working pass along the spine. The spine is not intended to support the weight of the body. Therefore the posture must be such that the weight of the body is not on the spine. Let it be free from all pressure. There are some other preliminary things. There is the great question of food and exercise. The food must be simple and taken several times a day, instead of once or twice. Never get very hungry. He who eats too much cannot be a yogi. He who fasts too much cannot be a yogi. He who sleeps too much cannot be a yogi, nor he who keeps awake too much. He who does not do any work and he who works too hard cannot succeed. Proper food, proper exercise, proper sleep, proper wakefulness, these are necessary for any success. What the proper food is, what kind, we have to determine ourselves. Nobody can determine that for us. As a general practice, we have to shun exciting food. We do not know how to vary our diet with our occupation. We always forget that it is the food out of which we manufacture everything we have. So the amount and kind of energy that we want, the food must determine. Violent exercises are not all necessary. If you want to be muscular, yoga is not for you. You have to manufacture a finer organism than you have now. Violent exercises are positively hurtful. Live amongst those who do not take too much exercise. If you do not take violent exercise, you will live longer. You do not want to burn out your lamp in muscles. People who work with their brains are the longest-lived people. Do not burn the lamp quickly. Let it burn slowly and gently. Every anxiety, every violent exercise, physical and mental, means you are burning the lamp. The proper diet means, generally, simply do not eat highly spiced foods. There are 3 sorts of mind, says the yogi, according to the elements of nature. One is the dull mind, which covers the luminosity of the soul. Then there is that which makes people active, and lastly, that which makes them calm and peaceful. Now there are persons born with the tendency to sleep all the time. Their taste will be towards that type of food which is rotting, crawling cheese. They will eat cheese that fairly jumps off the table. It is a natural tendency with them. Then active people. Their taste is for everything hot and pungent, strong alcohol. Sattvika people are very thoughtful, quiet, and patient. They take food in small quantities, and never anything bad. I am always asked the question, shall I give up meat? My master said, why should you give up anything? It will give you up. Do not give up anything in nature. Make it so hot for nature that she will give you up. There will come a time when you cannot possibly eat meat. The very sight of it will disgust you. There will come a time when many things you are struggling to give up will be distasteful, positively loathsome. Then there are various sorts of breathing exercises. One consists of 3 parts, the drawing in of the breath, the holding of the breath, stopping still without breathing, and throwing the breath out. Some breathing exercises are rather difficult, and some of the complicated ones are attended with great danger if done without proper diet. I would not advise you to go through any one of these except the very simple ones. Take a deep breath and fill the lungs. Slowly throw the breath out. Take it through one nostril and fill the lungs, and throw it out slowly through the other nostril. Some of us do not breathe deeply enough. Others cannot fill the lungs enough. These breathings will correct that very much. Half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening will make you another person. This sort of breathing is never dangerous. The other exercises should be practiced very slowly. And measure your strength. If 10 minutes are a drain, only take 5. The yogi is expected to keep his own body well. These various breathing exercises are a great help in regulating the different parts of the body. All the different parts are inundated with breath. It is through breath that we gain control of them all. Disharmony in parts of the body is controlled by more flow of the nerve currents towards them. The yogi ought to be able to tell when in any part pain is caused by less vitality or more. He has to equalize that. Another condition for success in yoga is chastity. It is the cornerstone of all practice. Married or unmarried, perfect chastity. It is a long subject, of course, but I want to tell you, public discussions of this subject are not to the taste of this country. These Western countries are full of the most degraded beings in the shape of teachers who teach men and women that if they are chaste they will be hurt. How do they gather all this? People come to me, thousands come every year, with this one question. Someone has told them that if they are chaste and pure they will be hurt physically. How do these teachers know it? Have they been chaste? Those unchaste, impure fools, lustful creatures, want to drag the whole world down to their level. Nothing is gained except by sacrifice. The holiest function of our human consciousness, the noblest, do not make it unclean. Do not degrade it to the level of the brutes. Make yourselves decent men. Be chaste and pure. There is no other way. Did Christ find any other way? If you can conserve and use the energy properly, it leads you to God. Inverted, it is hell itself. It is much easier to do anything upon the external plane, but the greatest conqueror in the world finds himself a mere child when he tries to control his own mind. This is the world he has to conquer, the greater and more difficult world to conquer. Do not despair. Awake, arise, and stop not until the goal is reached.